Ba-da-ba-da. Boo, 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 ba boo boo. Skada-ba-da, boo, boo,
Hey
boo.
everybody, welcome to Steve and Lynda Make a Podcast. I'm Brendan.
I'm Dan.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Parker.
Steve and Lynda are off this week, but let's get into this week's topics. So to start it off, during our transition, we know Steve and Lynda, they had their topics to talk about, but as you can tell, we're going to sort of take it in our own direction. And so we're going to start talking about a couple of the projects that we're working on as individuals. So we had, in taking over the podcast, we were thinking about maybe calling it a number of different things. But all of them were basically focused on just all of the different individual businesses that we're trying to, push forward. Would we even call them businesses?
Nah, no, I wouldn't.
Not yet.
Professional projects, yeah.
Ventures of some sort.
Sure.
And I think the whole spirit of what we're trying to do is founded in that kind of exploratory beginner mindset approach. So, Dan, did you have any thoughts or any general mission statement or thoughts that you would articulate to describe effectively why we would want to be doing this, or like why where this idea came from?
Oh yeah, sure. Just put me on the spot for a general mission statement. Let me pick up right there. I think for me, certainly building in public is something that has always appealed to me. Right. I think there are many communities that build in public. They create their things and then they shoot out content about what they're making as kind of status updates to keep their audiences engaged or to even build their audiences from scratch. I think that's what's exciting for me. And so I think that lends naturally to visual content too. So a lot of the things that I'm doing are around photography and video, and those are easily shareable. So I think that's probably the biggest motivator for me personally.
And do you think something about making things visible or public, does that do anything to I mean, at least speaking from my perspective, it feels like making things public is a complicated choice as it relates to your own like motivation and commitment to things. Do you have any thoughts like I know Ian, you were talking about that notion that telling people what you're doing potentially might not be the most useful.
Like a little self-defeating.
Yeah. Why exactly is that the case?
The thing I read said that you effectively kind of like short circuit your like normal like reward system. Like you get a similar sense of satisfaction from telling people that you plan to do something as you would like actually doing the thing.
So is the idea there that when you say you're going to do it, you get that reward, and that
like
you just kind of
or whatever.
Throw the brakes on and that's it, and that's where you stop?
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Now everybody has heard it, so basically I don't have to do it anymore because like,
interesting.
It feels good because they think I'm going to do it.
Ooh.
Or something like that. I don't know. The brain's weird.
You've convinced them. It's like what, like a liar getting away with a lie. Not that you necessarily know that you're lying, but you're like, oh, okay, so they bought it. Okay, well, I've gotten all that I need. I've reaped all that I need to from that thing. And that was a notion I heard that too. I think that I'm just like doubtful about whether that's the case, at least just because for me, putting things out in public is one of these things that makes me feel like that thing is a little more legitimate than it was when it was just mush in my heart and soul, like before I actually had committed to it enough to articulate it to someone else. I think something about that is, at least for me, like, yes, I understand that it makes it hard to follow through, and actually like probably have experienced exactly that kind of false start. But I also think that there's value in just telling other people that you're doing something so that you're sort of accountable to that promise.
I was going to say, I think accountability is like kind of the counter argument.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like, I don't know, it's helpful if you have people that like whose opinions you value, that you've like committed to, you know, you put it out there that you're going to try something, and then I don't know, you don't want to disappoint people.
Yeah.
That's really the only reason I'm doing any of this. I don't want to disappoint you guys.
Have you ever disappointed us, Ian?
Oh God, I can only imagine.
I can answer that.
Well, don't be bashful.
So, I mean, I can start. So the projects that I'm currently working on, there are two big ones, but the one that probably we're going to spend the most time talking about, I would expect, is that I'm starting to grow mushrooms, with the hopes and plans to sell those to local restaurants and markets. The scale of it at this stage is very small. It's just in my basement, and with so Parker's got a shed. It's going there next. That's the next. I'm try and maybe use like a mushroom metaphor to say how it's growing.
Parker, you've got Brendan's spawn in your shed.
Oh God.
That's catchy.
Maybe, hey guys, from here on out, maybe we can talk less about Brendan's spawn.
I want to have.
Sounds like a good rule.
I really want to have Brendan spawn everywhere. I just
Up in your shed.
My house is covered in it. Just
if we're talking about our ultimate plans for the world.
You gotta spread your seed.
The thing is, Brendan spawn is also very tasty, so it's just
okay, all right.
Screaming goat everywhere.
I do have now, so that's a fun. I have on my tabs, like my bookmarks on the bookmark bar here for my old Chrome app. Is that what it's called? An app? Chrome application?
Yeah.
I've got
We're technological geniuses.
yeah. I've got practice tests, Flannery O'Connor, hay, straw, soy, a couple other things, but then one of the folders is labeled spawn. And because spawn, for those of you who do not know, is the actual term for effectively what are the seeds for growing mushrooms. It's just mushroom mycelium, which is the root system populating either grain or sawdust that you spread throughout more grain or more sawdust, and then you grow through like you grow in little bags with this spawn that you've used to populate these other things. But I have this folder for spawn, and I've taken screenshots of it and sent my screenshots to different people, and I didn't realize that spawn was late. You got to be careful about what you take screenshots when.
That's great.
That's a good takeaway for the day. Should we wrap it up there?
Yeah,
that's the end.
Good. That's a good note.
Be careful about those screenshots.
Yeah, that's sage wisdom.
Yeah.
All right.
Solid advice.
So, Dan, could you set forth in any simple terms with the projects that you're working on, or at least the ones that you would like to focus on as we're talking?
No, thank you.
Parker, which projects are you working on?
Oh yeah, no, go right to Parker. Loop back. I can go, Parker, if that's okay.
You should go, Dan.
Okay. Oh, you're too kind.
No, you should go.
Yeah, I'm starting. Here we go. I would say that I'm doing a little bit of a lot as kind of a shotgun approach to many different types of creative visual media is probably like that, the smallest bucket that I can put it into.
So
detailing deeper. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So basically, like, would you say it's like photography and videography? Is that like an appropriate assessment? Because I mean, and that's me honestly asking, how would you describe that in? Well, I guess it's maybe trying to put it into more old people businessy terms.
That's what we're gonna want to avoid here. Old people businessy terms. We're not gonna get too deep into those guys. So, let's just stick to the youngins.
I don't know, man. Maybe we
things that
should
the
cast
kids
a wide
say.
net.
You're right. I think so. The bucket that I've been using that I think is wide enough to catch everything, but descriptive enough to hopefully get the point across is creative entrepreneurship.
Oh.
And I don't know what that sounds like. If you're just hearing me say that for the first time, I don't know if you think that is. I'd love feedback on that. And then if it's criticism, I'm gonna shred it and keep moving forward with that term. But I think that kind of captures the photography, the videography, the idea that it doesn't stop just there, that there really is an entrepreneurship piece that I'm trying to learn about some of, I guess, the habits or problems that other people like me are facing in hopes of potentially building a product for those people, right? A big focus on some of my activities, kind of longer term, is trying to identify something of value that I can provide that will generate income, not on an hourly basis, but on a transactional basis, right? So think of like your typical digital products in the photography space. Maybe that is like photo presets or content courses, perhaps an ebook, something like that. Not necessarily that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about as the add-on to just kind of the regular hourly type things that I'm doing, whether that is YouTube or contract photo shoots, things like that.
Yeah, that's the thought about it, sort of transitioning from understanding your value as sort of raw hourly inputs and translating that to outputs, like putting a value on what you're actually able to create, I think is a really interesting concept. Lizzie's sister, and certainly we'll talk about this generally because we're talking broadly about freelancing things or contracting things. And it seems like an overall driver for us talking about this stuff is to try and figure out how we can make that or not the mentality, but the system for how we work. Because certainly there's something to say about time being our ultimate goal, that in knowing each other as friends and in talking about this a lot as friends, it seems, at least to me, like one of the things that comes up a lot is we care much more about our time than we care about getting rich or anything like that.
Well, hey, now you speak for yourself.
Yeah, I would also mirror Ian's sentiment there. He beat me to it, but yes, Brendan's speaking for himself here.
Yeah, right. So speaking entirely for my own self, that like the time is all that really ultimately matters. And if we're tied to an hourly wage, which, I think we should at some point certainly talk about how that, even the fact that we're able to dream and put in some effort towards divorcing our relationship to work and money from the whole hourly wage relationship or paradigm. I think that we should probably talk at some point about that being even a privilege, that we're able to think about that being a shatterable system.
Of course.
That said, that is our goal. And I think that, or at least that, again, that's my goal, speaking from personal experience.
No, I was fucking around. I'm on Brendan's page.
And I think that's something that, at least for me, is a reason why I think so hard about these projects. Trying to make things, turn things into a different relationship. Yeah.
I also think
baby.
it's important to note, because we haven't actually discussed this yet, like, should we say something about how we know each other?
It'll become
It's
clear.
just like, wow, these guys have a lot of chemistry, but why?
Who are you guys?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get into that, right? I think
how do we know each other?
Yeah, Dan and I talked about this recently. We let's see. Ian, I can remember how I met you, or maybe not exactly how I met you, but I remember how we first became close. It's because Ian and I were in a band together in middle school.
Yeah. We really rocked the house.
Oh boy.
Oh, I
We did.
remember that.
We sang "Holiday."
I
by
appreciate
Green Day.
that, at least by Parker's intonation, it was as painful for him to remember as it was for me to remember.
Sorry.
That really is. I think about that time with, like, I don't often have just I'm crippled by anxiety and self-doubt all the time. But that moment, the amount of just like, oh, Brendan, you fucking idiot. But again, we were in middle school. Like, we took ourselves seriously because we were in middle school.
Yeah, we had it all figured out.
Of course we did, because Green Day, now that is real. Green Day is delightful.
Yeah, it was a good choice.
Ian, what's that curve that we were talking about a couple weeks ago, where you I forget what the two axes are.
Oh God!
You know enough to think that you are very intelligent on a given matter.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, Dunning-Kruger, I think.
Yeah. That's if you if you throw that overlay on your life, that's middle school.
Yeah. The peak of Mount Stupid, I think it was labeled on the chart.
When you think you have some stuff figured out is like 7th through 10th grade, maybe.
Some people live there now as adults.
Dude, I oscillate just back and forth between the peak of Mount Stupid and the Valley of Despair. That's just, there's no in between, I don't think. I think there's a John Lennon quote about that. But
the peak of Mount Stupid and the Valley of Despair.
No, what is it? Part of me thinks I'm a loser, and the other part of me thinks I'm God Almighty. It's something like that, but I think it's a pretty universal thing.
Yeah. So anyway, Ian and I met on our way up to Mount Stupid, playing Holiday the whole way. But Dan and I were talking about how we met, and that goes further back. And I don't know that there is. Did we ever land on a specific moment?
I forget everything we spoke about.
Do you remember at least having that conversation?
I know that. Yeah, I definitely remember the conversation. Okay. It was quite recently. During one of those mining sessions.
Yeah.
We do elementary. Second grade, first grade, knew of you, but I don't know when I knew you.
You had a reputation.
I know you're. This is gonna be bad. We can cut this if we have to. Your 4th grade yearbook picture is a doozy, or it might be your 5th grade one.
It's a doozy
because you.
And already we've decided that's got to be the cover of the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, for the video watchers, we can throw that up on the screen now.
Nice.
I think to memory we've got something like a neck chain, and we've got some glasses. Which nothing against glasses. I'm wearing glasses right now, but but you had them paired together.
Yeah. No, this was
and it was something special for all. And
we've all got to hit a peak at some point.
I remember that distinctly, and I don't know why. But I don't know that we were friends at that point. I think you were just the kid with the chain, you know?
Of course you weren't my friend. I had a chain. If I can remember that picture, my face is especially greasy. You're absolutely right, Dan. But then by 5th grade, I had probably found a different soap, I guess, and I ditched the chain. That was probably around the time Dan was like, "Oh, well,
give him a go."
Yeah, all right. Parker, what about, and this is obviously, well, now there's, if we're thinking about just the permutations of all of us meeting each other, we got,
It's going to
let's
chew
see,
up
we've
some time.
gone through
Yeah.
2 more, and then we got 4 more to go. Technically combinations for all of my counting students out there.
We could just say we're
Which I
part
do
of the same
have some.
cohort.
Yeah.
Wrap it
Should
up
we-
with a nice little bow.
Should we jump into a permutations combinations breakdown?
Ooh, no,
right.
because I'll embarrass myself.
Parker, how did we meet? I mean, because certainly, so you were at Barkley, right?
I was a Barkley kid. I was actually a Renaissance Academy kid before I was a Barkley kid.
You mentioned that last time. When?
So my parents got divorced, and my mom was like, "Oh, this is a prestigious school. Charter's a good thing." And nope. And so I went there from 3rd to 5th grade, and then became a like Barkley Bulldog for like 6 months. It was really confusing, but it was like just enough to be like one of the fake kids that comes into middle school being like, "I'm from Barkley." Yeah. Like everybody's like, "Yeah, I remember him," but like it wasn't cool. So
And none of this was scarring, right?
Dan, you've met me. Of course it was. No, I mean I turned out okay. I don't know.
Here he is.
Here I am. No, I don't know, Brendan. It was definitely middle school.
Yeah.
But like it was probably like we didn't actually start hanging out till like 8th grade.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And Dan, you've kind of I feel like we've either actually I don't know if were we in the same homeroom in middle school? Because didn't they split them up?
Yeah, there was some weird team shit going on.
Yeah.
And it's all blocked out.
Yo, Blue
I don't have
Knights
that.
and Excaliburs.
I was a Blue Knight.
I was an
a Blue
Excalibur.
Knight.
Excaliburs.
Yeah, that
What
was
is
right.
this, bizarre language you're speaking.
Ian, you went there.
Okay, Ian.
Wait, did I? I don't know, guys. That was a couple iterations of myself ago.
all those cells have shed from you and replaced themselves by now.
Safe to say, I think. Well, somebody speak up if I'm off here. But I think 8th grade or 7th. I feel like we all were. There's something going on by 7th. Is that fair?
That's when all this gravity got started?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably.
is that fair?
I think it's
Started
fair.
yeah.
Somewhere around there.
When were the
somewhere
airsoft
open, so-
days?
Oh, baby.
That was a thing.
I love shooting my friends.
I just remember we had that fucked up rule where if you got a new gun, you had to get shot by it. And like so,
That was a
like
great rule.
execution style. A bunch like all the people that drove by your house were probably like, "What the?"
God.
Like,
Forget the people driving by. I think my parents probably were a little concerned.
your neighbors, like everybody, the what is it, the Schuylkill Township Police, like they were there a couple times.
There's still airsoft balls that show up in like your gravel every once in a while.
Yep. Reminders of
Yeah.
a simpler time.
We wore our safety glasses.
It's
Oh,
true.
I think
yeah.
we're
When did
obligated
you
to
guys-
say that.
We were
When did
very
you guys start doing the
conscientious.
trebuchet?
Oh God, I don't know. At some point in high school.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
That was later
9th
than
grade, I think.
okay.
Yeah, something like that. That didn't really materialize.
Got
What?
the base done.
Yeah, why you got to bring up my failures, man?
Well, you talked about it a lot. Seemed like it was going really well.
I had a lot of fun, and then I just abandoned ship.
You know what that was? That was the perfect example of when you talk about you're going to do something
Yeah.
and then you bail out because someone's like, "Oh, very cool." And you're like, "Oh, great. Validation achieved. No
We've
more
come full
effort needed."
circle.
Yeah.
Look, Brendan, do you know how hard it is to cut through a 6x6 with a handsaw? Because if not, I don't know that you're in a place to be lecturing us on.
I think if
Saying
it's
things like
not
that.
totally clear, then I'll make it explicit. I just wasn't invited, and now dealing with that.
Oh no.
I also
Oh, shit.
counterpoint. I just got to bring it up. They kind of figured that out in like 500 AD. So I don't.
You think freaking table saws in the medieval times.
Ian, should you and I head out now, or?
Yeah, I think we've been sufficiently shamed.
Man.
I remember me and Ian were tight in middle school.
Yeah.
We hung out a lot in like 8th grade into 9th grade.
What did you guys do around that time, primarily,
you know,
with your
just
time?
getting
probably
into trouble.
What
Yeah.
kind of trouble? Like legal trouble?
So we were talking about
course
this
not.
on a Minecraft session, and I actually don't want to put it onto public record. Some of the stuff we did, because like looking back on it, it was actually kind of damaging. Actually, you know what? But we were small, shifty, and agile, and that's honestly, that's like
Entrepreneurship.
yeah. So, yeah. So I'm a
Parker, what are you
graphic
working on
designer.
these days?
Yeah. So I'm. Yeah. How do I even? I don't know.
That is a good. Let's transition back. That I
Segue.
think is juicy material. But yeah, Parker, what are you up to now?
So as of recently, I've been. I guess I would call them murals. There's a beer garden in Manayunk, which is like right on the outskirts of Philly. And I've been putting up, I guess they're like environmental graphics. What started as just like some stencils for the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, like turned into them wanting like a little bit more. So like we recommended, suggested, like, I don't know, designed and then installed what's going to be 4 like mural moments on these garage bays. So I'm like in process of getting the last one approved for direction, and then probably start painting that in like a week or 2, and that'll take a couple days. And yeah, nothing else right now. Some small, clients here and there, but that's about it.
But the main heft of the stuff that you're working on, how would you describe? If you were, yeah, go ahead.
And like I like Dan's use of like creative entrepreneurial, that I think that makes sense. I'm like I went to school for graphic design. I'm interested in like branding and stuff like that. Like I just want to I want to it's the same thing. I don't want to go back to an office, but I want to be able to be like sustainable and hopefully like help out some like, I don't know. I think that there's like a lot of opportunities, especially like where we are right now in Phoenixville, with like a lot of small businesses that need help with branding and like kind of having some sort of visual identity. So I think I'd really like to like, I don't know, help out with this community kind of, and then just kind of like start. I don't want to call it an agency because it's really just me, but like I just want to keep doing creative stuff and get paid for it. Not even a lot, but just like have fun and kind of convince people that this is a career.
That is,
If I can play that. Oh, go ahead.
No, the like bamboozling people. So much of this does. Again, if we get back to why we're doing this, one of the things that I think is important is making it so clear that a lot of folks who are quote unquote entrepreneurs, it seems, do kind of fake this stuff until they are comfortable with it. And that's something that is tough for me, and I would say it seems like probably is tough for most of us because we're not all that apt to just market ourselves.
It's hard.
Or at least that doesn't, yeah, it is hard. And that's something that doesn't come naturally to everyone, but it is a skill that you can develop. And hopefully it's a skill that you can develop without losing your soul along the way, of course. But I don't know. Something that I struggle with is trying to carve out a pathway to just make a living and feel like I'm contributing to, like Parker, you said, Phoenixville as a community. It would be so nice to just contribute to a community. Let's see, where am I going with the but it's hard. Oh man, I'm losing my train of thought. I think basically it's hard to figure out how I should be presenting myself to people. Should I be saying I'm an agency, like you were saying, Parker? Should I be saying I run a mushroom farm? I am a mushroom farmer, or should I be saying something that's sort of at least a bit disingenuous and say like, hey, I work for a mushroom farm, to like, I don't know, to make it seem as though that thing is larger than it is or more legitimate than it is. That's something that I always struggle with, trying to figure out how much of this stuff I should be trying to fake into legitimacy versus how much of this stuff I should just be very transparent about the scale of it.
Well, and that's something, I mean, I've been in school for it for about 4 years and then like professionally for about 4.5 years now. And I'll be honest, like I would be lying to you if I didn't say that like at least once or twice a week I had some sort of like imposter syndrome, like anxiety meltdown, just being like, is this good? Like what is this? It just kind of, I don't know. It's just like weird. It's really strange. Like I still like, I mean, I would say like I am a graphic designer, but sometimes I'm just like, you like, even like, I don't know, Brennan, you're saying for like the mushroom farm, and that's like just talking about like you like labeling yourself as like a mushroom farmer. Do you even get like nervous, like, okay, you're a mushroom farmer, what about like other mushroom farms? Like have you even like, how do you like size yourself up against like that's my issue mainly. It's like there's so many talented designers out there, and I'm just like, does my shit measure up? Like, is this legit? I don't know. Sorry, not shit. Are we allowed to curse? We'll put it.
Yeah,
okay.
No, you're just causing me some work. Did you use the word like meltdown, Parker? Did I hear that?
Oh yeah,
I
mean,
heard it.
Meltdown.
Oh yeah.
And you said like once or twice a week. Can you just let us know, which days those typically occur on, so we can record on
we should day? we can sync. No, dude, they're done by 9 a.m. Come on, like I gotta get that shit out. Yeah, like,
knock it out when you.
I'm just
up.
like sitting there, like, because like Lily sleeps in, and I do the dogs in the morning. And what I told her was it's because I was like, it's just easier with one person. No, I gotta like be like Monday morning. I'm like, oh Jesus fuck! Like by the time that like I like have the dogs back inside, I'm like, okay, well, one easy task is done. So that's like, I guess I guess I'm not calling all my clients today and telling them I quit.
So we talked about this, I think, last week, maybe offline. You said Mondays for you, do they feel like Mondays? And the typical like, oh shit, it's Monday, fuck my life. Does it feel like that or no? Does every day feel like that, or
so
how many days feel like that?
Unless I have a hard deadline.
Do they have a schedule?
Or if yeah. Unless I have like a hard deadline, or I'm like painting or something. Because recently the beer garden, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to talk this much. The beer garden has been like closed from like for Monday and Tuesday, so those have been painting days. But like when I'm not like working, I'll usually make like Monday like a later start date, and I think that that's super important because I think you should have a better buffer. The whole fucking weekend system, not to get like super like like not to jump into it.
Hold on, he's about to go off.
The whole system of like a 2-day weekend is not enough. Like it's just, that's like such a like, I don't know, it's stupid. That's silly.
Yeah, I don't think you have to say that in whispered tones. I think again, that is a part of why we're talking through this stuff, because I would imagine there are so many people who agree.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of normalizing that conversation, because no one wants to work 5 days a week, because the 8 hours that you're working in any given day, we made this joke last time. I'll zhuzh it up, make it a little cleaner.
You're gonna recycle it?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, no joke is new, but it's basically like, if we work 40 hours a week now, we're actually working 40 hours a week. But in the 60s and the 50s, I don't know, obviously I wasn't there, but it seems very much like the amount of productivity that's asked of people at that point in time is far less, because there isn't the immediacy of email, and there isn't the hyper sort of possibility of, I don't know, all the different technologies that we have. And so I think that it is, we're definitely going there as far as 4-day weekdays.
Fuck yeah.
What's the universal basic income? We'll definitely be getting into all of these things, I think, because that's a part and parcel of why we're all doing this stuff, because we don't find that we have healthy relationships with the work that's being asked of us now.
Oh yeah. No.
All right.
Oh,
well, let's get to Ian. So Ian,
yeah, what's your Monday like, Ian?
Yeah.
Oh god. Yeah, I mean, so let's see. The project is like algorithmic trading. So Dan likes to call it the money printer, which by
Burr.
Yeah, I really hesitate with this. That just feels way too cocky.
That is, isn't that? I just looked at your LinkedIn. It says Ian McCall Spears,
Inventor of
and
the money
then
printer.
yeah. And all of your
Patent
credentials say
pending.
BRRRR, BRRRR.
There's a
I'm gonna
different
endorse. I'm
number
gonna
of
go on and
Rs.
endorse all of your credentials that say BRRRR.
Thanks, man. That would really help me out.
I think so.
But
Do you even
yeah,
have a LinkedIn?
I'm looking at
I
it now,
do.
Ian. You're so adorable.
Yeah, I'm a charmer. All right. But yeah, I mean, I think of like, okay, so in addition to everything you guys have said, like one of the big motivations is like I really like the creative problem solving aspect of software, which I guess I should mention is what I've been doing.
Don't say.
Yeah, right. Well, if you jump into something like that without any software background, you could question my sanity anyway, but
We'll do that separately.
more so, yeah, we'll get into that. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, like the creative problem solving aspect of it. Like that's something I really like. The like interpersonal stuff and like dealing with people, that's something I don't so much like. So this seemed like maybe an
So
opportunity
you joined a
to
podcast.
yeah.
We're all
I
in
mean,
separate rooms. That's the way he likes it.
Except
I
for me
like
and Ian.
physical space. Yeah, Parker and I get cozy. But yeah, so I was just, like, this seems kind of like purely the problem solving side of software. And then, you know, like if I don't know, if you succeed, like it's pretty clear, like it's not, I don't know, it's fuzzy. It's not fuzzy, it's kind of measurable. That kind of goes back to something you guys were talking about with the like I don't know, like gauging your ability or feeling like you're faking it or imposter syndrome or whatever. I don't know, like, yeah, like with this, if you're fucking up, you're kind of doing it empirically. As you know, and same with your successes. So like, I don't know, that's appealing to me. It's like very, yeah, I don't know, it's very like clear how you're doing, I guess. Or maybe not. Maybe that's just me being naive to this whole thing so far.
I think that's one of the hallmarks of being in charge of something that you are effectively like willing from beginning to end, is that there isn't any there's no obfuscation of the result. So it's like you don't toss something up to a project manager who says, all right, thanks, now I have to toss this up to my manager, and then it's just lost in a kind of swirl of like the general productivity of your company or anything like that. It's stuff that you actually have well, to some degree control over, and B, clearer feedback at the very least.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I need that direct and honest feedback.
Yeah, I would guess that the whole world is craving that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
At least more people than have it now.
And it's interesting. That's an interesting thing to keep track of, because I think the things that we're all endeavoring towards have different versions of that kind of feedback. I would characterize the mushroom growing as similar in some respects, that it's sort of binary. Either you've clearly succeeded or you clearly have not, because sometimes these dang old mushrooms just won't pop. But then sometimes I'm like sitting in the basement with two gigantic bowls, the biggest bowls that we have, clipping mushrooms and then putting them in the fridge. And there's these like, so should we be giving these away? Which feels like success. And then that feels like the kind of real feedback or the empirical feedback. But then there's the notion that those also have to go to somebody and someone has to appreciate them. So I don't know exactly what. Certainly, I think you could characterize the I don't know. This is hopeful, but the selling of mushrooms to happy, appreciative people.
Schmucks. Oh, sorry.
That's its own kind of empirical feedback, but I don't know if necessarily that appreciation, like if I don't know, it's just different versions of a result from each of us, and then yeah,
I get what
then
you're saying.
Parker and Dan, you both would have totally. I don't want to speak for either of you, but it seems like the feedback that either of you would get would take on its own characteristics.
Yeah, certainly. Like if you kind of, so you did something interesting there. You broke it down between part of that success being completing, we'll call it a task, right?
Yeah.
Like could you effectively grow a mushroom, right? Or in my world, can I effectively take a compelling image? That second piece, and I'm sure we'll talk a ton about this, is more universal. Does somebody value that does some, as I said, schmuck, value that mushroom enough to exchange value? And as much as we might want to get away from using that as our yardstick, it also enables us to keep going, right? So it's super top of mind. So I think we'll all share that one to some extent, right? Or given that we're not doing these things as hobbies purely. But yeah, I don't know, Parker, I'd be super interested to hear like what that first part of success is for like a certain project. Does that look like a client referral? Does it look like some kind of testimonial? Or is it just kind of like the human exchange that you have in that project, right? I think that's something I like, and so I'd be curious to hear like what does that look like for you?
So I think a lot of that, like, I have like a couple different answers for that, I guess. For me, like a lot of my issues with like, I guess like the drive that got me out of the full-time thing in the beginning was that like I was working for a like events company. So you'd like spend all this time doing all this stuff and for this like Fortune 100 company or whatever. And then they would throw it out in 2 days. And I was like, it was like a mixture of like, fuck, that's really bad from like an eco thing. Like we're throwing out a bunch of one-use plastic that shouldn't be. For like a company that's saying that they're super green. And I'm gonna get back to what we were talking about. I'm sorry. I'm just like, I'm just like, I'm getting out.
Break them through those
Let her
clips.
rip.
Yeah, but
Drag them.
so then to like, I don't know, to come to like the other end of something and like have like these like small like mom and pop shops kind of being like, I don't know, to hear somebody be like, oh, like I really like that logo, like that I didn't like think, or like to like give them some sort of like advice on like I was like, oh, like just talking to one of my clients the other day, like I was like, hey, I've been doing like a lot of like printing for you, just in case we go to another printer, do you want me to like suggest some like PMS colors or something, just so like you're not getting these different color profiles and different blues, because like, you have a brand blue, but you don't actually have a brand blue. You have like a web brand because it's like a hex color or whatever, and not like
Right.
CMYK. So like I was like, and like they were like, oh yeah, like I didn't even think we like, I don't know, I like didn't even think that we like needed that, like that kind of stuff. I like when people are like, oh, this is great. Or like we went to like opening night for the beer garden, and we only had one mural down, but like they like came up to me and they're like, this looks so great. That's like actually how it happened. We had the one mural and we weren't supposed to do all four. They have like 4 garage bays there or whatever. And we got like the one mural down, and like the like manager of like the beer garden comes up. She's like, yeah, I want like 3 more of these. This is like amazing. Like everybody's been taking pictures in front of them. And that's like, to me, I'm like, I don't even care about the money. I'm just like, fuck yeah. Like that's fucking like, yeah, like that's fucking dope. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I think sorry, go ahead.
No, I was actually gonna bring you up, Brendan. Like it's like I think it's more exciting to like I don't know, like working on like for forest floor, like even like though like I don't know, we still probably have some work to do on like your logos and like whatever your brand identity is going to be, but it's like fun to work. Like that's the kind of design that I want to do. Like the kind of like, I don't know, when it's like exciting to talk about and like, it's like, just like, I don't know, it's kind of helping somebody, I think that's kind of fun. Yeah.
So kind of going back to what Parker was saying, where you do some project and the person or the people that you're working with come back and say like, this is awesome, but I need more, MOAR, like more. And you're sitting there going like, fuck yeah, let's go. And it feels great. That applied to your money printer situation or your algorithmic trading, to me, is fascinating, right? Because again, correct me, but like your project is so much more from the outside. It looks like so much more of personal problem solving, and you probably won't get that much external feedback on it other than maybe Maggie is kind of like wading through the stacks of cash and she's like, good job, Ian. Or like, but like, is there any part of that external like feedback that you'll get along that? Or like, do you plan on, or have you already like hooked up with people that have done that? Are you part of any communities there? Or is there any sense of maybe sharing some of that knowledge with other people trying to do similar things?
Yeah, so there were a lot of questions in there. In terms of the sharing, I would love that if I could like do something of value that like, yeah, I could open source or just like you were talking about providing things as a service. Like if I end up building something that like enables other people who are trying to do a similar thing to like, I don't know, not have to worry so much about some of the like integration stuff and just like focus on their workflows and their models and stuff, like that would be super cool. In terms of missing that feedback, I think that's actually going to be good for me. I'm totally addicted to like that positive response from other people. When you like do something of value and someone's like, "Oh yeah, cool, I like this." And honestly, like it's not a healthy tendency in like a corporate work environment where like people are just going to take advantage of that. Not even, I hesitate to say take advantage because I don't think anyone's like there's no like it's not malicious.
I thought you were gonna say that's not strong enough of a sentiment.
It's not strong. No, but I mean like everybody in a corporate environment, like everybody's trying to do their shit, and like if you can help them, then they're like, yeah, please, I need help. And like I don't know, it's like it creates this dynamic where I just like I just kind of like run myself into the ground a little bit. It's like I'm always chasing that like that attaboy. I don't know if that makes sense.
Anybody else who does that. It's a weird thing, Ian.
It's totally weird. I don't know if it's unusual, but it is a weird circumstance to find yourself in as a human being. I am interested to
see how widespread that experience is, because obviously we just as four people who respond to each other naturally probably there is some correlation between our levels of kind of I don't know, like selflessness in a sense is what you're saying, right? You wouldn't articulate it that way yourself, but you are saying that you would want to give as much of yourself to the folks around you as you could, whether that's through effort or time or whatever, because you care about doing that for the people around you. And when you're in a situation where it's hierarchical to the point of corporation, then you're engaging with people around you who you certainly want to do well for, and you want to please to some extent, and you want to alleviate their stress about work that week or anything like that. But that's not necessarily reciprocated, not by the people around you. It probably is reciprocated by those people. There is no malintent. No one is really necessarily malicious, or some people maybe, but like that's not what you should expect.
It's a mixed
is that
bag.
Other people around you are trying to take advantage of you. It is totally leveraged by the size of a system like that. But I am interested to see, because the four of us probably fall on a certain end of like just diligence and
Oh shucks.
no, I mean in some
You're being way too generous.
circles people would call us saps, right? Like we do.
Fuck them.
Yeah, right.
I would call
right.
myself that.
Like
I
to some extent,
self-identify.
we would go above and beyond for people around us. There's a naivete to it, and I would wonder how widespread that is, whether by innate, sort of whether by genetics, that a lot of people would be predisposed to be that earnest, or by bludgeoning by a society or something. I don't know. I'm interested to see how and by what mechanisms that experience is spread, or how widespread, or
Yeah, so comment below and tell us how the corporate environment has exploited
make sure
your
to
human tendencies.
explicitly mention names as well as companies.
Oh, and also if you could smash
And
that
click
like
that
button.
subscribe button. I think that's a great topic to cover with our future guests, right?
Yeah, let's put it
if
on the
anybody's
dock.
brave enough to jump up on here and get grilled, that'll be a topic.
I won't do any grilling, I promise.
Speaking from, so we don't have to go too much longer, but I think we've got a lot of stuff, but we probably don't have things as clear, and maybe it's good that it's a little more organic and it's not quite as clearly like hey, this is us, this is what we're doing. It's more just us already diving in, and then those plans and projects can come through. Yes, you were, Parker. Parker, you've been muted this whole time. Did you say anything?
For like 4 minutes. I was just like, wow. I was like, the guys are good.
Oh, no.
Maybe I'll just try later.
Is it stuff that's
All
yeah?
right,
Go ahead.
So, bonus feature for the paid listeners, you can listen to Parker's recording of him desperately trying to get a word in edgewise.
Did you get to
I
the
was
point
just
of
like,
begging,
I'd
Parker?
be like, yeah, I'm. Oh, okay. And then like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay.
Which is so perfectly articulated. Yeah, that's exactly the illustration that we need for like someone just being a team player. Ignoring that, the reason you can't actually like get the appropriate hours off and get a decent living wage, and like cut off the time in between when you're working and when you're not working. Oh, it's because you've been muted this whole time. Corporate America has effectively muted you. That's dark. Anyway.
Oh God, that's
we're glad to have you back.
You're striking a chord that I was not ready for.
Yep. Yep. Oh, sorry, guys. I was just on the phone with Steve and Lynda. They're going to be back next week, so tune in for that. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. For Steve and Lynda Make a Podcast, I'm Brendan.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Parker.
I mean,
all right, I gotta go eat.
Ba-da-ba-da-boop-boop. Ba-da-ba-da-boop-boop. Boop, 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 boop.